We're talking dwarves today, and obviously I thought who better to talk about dwarves than JGigs. What's
That's
up,
pretty
guys?
dope.
MtgJedi here. I kind of startled you there with the little intro. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
Hopefully I didn't
sweet.
interrupt it.
Not editing that out. That was too perfect. So we got JGigs on the channel today, and man, I'm super pumped to have you on the channel. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me. It's
Yeah.
long overdue.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, why don't you, for anybody who's not familiar, because I don't know, YouTube tells me we don't share an audience, which that's got to be a lie, obviously.
Yeah.
But what have you been up to over on your channel?
You did the same old stuff, like posing as a raid content creator, but really just doing whatever I want to do.
Yeah, well, there you go. I know I always enjoy a good gigs video. But either way, it's great to have you on the channel here today. And guys, we will have all the links to JGig's channel down below in the description and a pinned comment. So if for some reason you haven't seen the hilarious videos that he posts and his sweet series that he does, please go check that out. You definitely should do that. But as for today, we're talking Faction Wars, and this is the Dwarves edition. We're trying to have a different content creator on for every faction. And so if you haven't seen those, go ahead back and take a look at that playlist. But as for today, maybe you could start us off with your favorite champion from the faction.
Favorite champion from the faction. I feel like I've got a soft spot for Tormund, and I know he's kind of an OP option, but he's the first Void Lego I pulled on my Free to Succeed. And I've spent so much time doing different things with him. I feel like I'm probably the most familiar with him. So I know he's a Void Lego, and he's going to be pretty rare to have if you weren't here for the fusion. But I'm a pretty big fan of Tormund, to be honest.
And do you think he's still like good in this sea full of stone skin that exists in the arena meta?
I don't know how good he would be in Platinum. I use him on my main arena team, and I hover right below Platinum. Kind of, that's just where I sit, and it's fine. I auto most teams. It's a Mithrala, Lydia, Tormund team, and Saris, and he does pretty well. I've got him built for damage. That's how I use him there. But I don't know. I don't know how he would perform in Platinum. I haven't checked out the top ranks to see if he's in any of the teams or anything.
Yeah, no, I don't know that Platinum's really relevant for the majority of us, but if he's doing well in Gold 5, I think that definitely applies to us. So that's
Yeah,
what a cool
he's handy.
choice. Honestly, I think Tormund in 2022, 2023 is maybe a little underrated. Can I even say that? From how busted he used to be, I think
Oh,
that he's a
yeah.
little underrated these days.
Yeah, they've had to address him a couple of times, I think, right? Haven't they kind of
Yeah.
nerfed him on multiple occasions? Because when
Oh
they
yeah.
first dropped him, he destroyed what the arena was. It
Oh yeah,
just
for
completely
sure.
ruined it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's
Well,
in a pretty decent spot now.
I think so too. They got the balance, I think, correct, and I think he's very, very good still. As for me, I don't know how much you like her, but my favorite dwarf has got to be Molly. I think
I
that
love
they're
Molly. Yeah.
yeah, you like her? I
Hmm.
she's just so versatile. People don't realize, I don't think. Like there's multiple ways you can build her and they're completely different. Like fast with a lot of accuracy or slow with a ton of HP and like bolster or shield, and she just does so many interesting things in her kit. Plus she has one of my favorite abilities, the AoE provoke. I just love that ability to control the other team. So
Yeah, and is it a two-turn as well, right?
yes, it can be.
Yeah,
It is
that's gross.
only sometimes a two turn, but if you lock them down for two turns, it's just like so
Hmm.
hard for you to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are there any champions in this faction that you particularly hate or think are unusable?
Hmm. Hate or are unusable?
I mean, we could talk about
I
the sea of rares. They're like majority
they,
unusable,
they have
but
plenty of rares. They've got some interesting rares, actually.
yeah, yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
there's one. Which one is it? Is it Master Butcher?
The one with the
Master
aura?
Butcher. Yeah, a long time ago, I wanted to play around with him in Clan Boss.
Mm.
There was something I was doing in Clan Boss. I don't know if it always said don't work against bosses, but it's when I learned that the Clan Boss is a boss when it's convenient for him
Yeah.
and not a boss when it's not convenient for him.
Yeah.
Because there was a dwarf in here that I thought, that's an interesting mechanic that could be really good,
Yeah.
um, which I think sucks. I think he's either a boss or he's not. He doesn't get to choose
Just
when it's
pick.
convenient.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when you made that video. I think I saw that one and I thought it was hilarious. So, what about any of the
I don't.
epics?
Yeah, I don't think there's any that I hate.
Okay.
I think they're all fairly the ones I'm familiar with anyway. I think they're all pretty good. There's a couple of new faces here that I haven't gotten around to looking at or really getting familiar with.
Okay.
Morag, I wouldn't have known she was in the game until right now,
Oh,
honestly.
she's good. I like her.
Is she?
Yeah,
I don't
she
even.
kind of sucks, but I also like her. The reason she
Okay.
sucks is because of this. She has teams up with 2 random allies. If it was the whole team, I'd be telling you
Oh,
she's the best. But
yeah.
because it's 2 random allies, she kind of sucks. But she has
Yeah,
this
that's a bummer.
cool AoE attack that has strengthen on it. And you don't
Interesting.
get that very often. And then her A1 is a double hitter. It ignores shields. It's not really that important. And her passive, she counterattacks herself whenever she's under strengthen. So
That's
it's
pretty handy.
yeah, and she's got good base stats. Like I have her on my new free to play account, and I've used her quite a bit. But so maybe the gist here is the majority of the champions in this faction are usable.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm such a big fan is because it really doesn't matter who you pull. There's probably a spot for them. There's
Yeah,
probably something to be done
yeah, I like
with
it.
them.
I can't say really anything. Like I've even seen like random stuff with Beard Owl, which I think he's terrible, but like people have
Yeah.
used him in Hydra and stuff. So I think
Hmm.
the even the all the epics are very usable, and then there's definitely some usable rares as well. Um, so you want to transition over into then who you think some of the best champions are for faction wars?
Yeah, I think that rearguard is insanely valuable for faction wars. She was a big part of why I was able to beat it before they started nerfing faction wars down.
Yeah,
Rearguard is huge in there. She's so good in there. So if you've got her and you're not using her and you're struggling with dwarves, 100% rearguard is going to alleviate that for you. She's very very good in there. Rockbreaker is actually really good for the boss,
totally
or at
agree.
least he used to be. I don't know if that's still the case.
He
If that
still
strat
is.
still, yeah,
Yeah.
he was a very interesting way to kind of solve that problem. You have to build him kind of funky, but Rockbreaker is an interesting solution. It's funny to look at this now because I haven't had to think about it for so long.
Uh-huh.
When I was doing the dwarf faction crypt back in the day, there was maybe half these options, so it was a
Right.
lot more limited. Feels like
Yes.
it's probably opened up quite a bit now.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely opened up a lot. I mean, now we have Demitha with the block damage and the healing, obviously. I think the healing part of her kit is very underrated. Everybody just knows her for the block damage, but
Hmm.
she's a very good healer, maybe even the best healer in the faction. And then you have
And
Melga, who is finally,
yeah,
a reviver that is accessible for people. And that's
right.
definitely really, really important here.
That's probably the biggest change because back in the day, dwarves didn't have a reviver, and it was like, man,
Right.
it was brutal.
Right. And
So
now,
Melga definitely alleviates a lot of the pressure. Oh, Molly, right? But not
yeah,
everybody
well,
had
now we
Molly,
have
right?
Molly and Melga, but obviously most people don't have Molly, but a lot of people have Melga. I've seen her on just a lot of accounts.
Yeah,
So coming up through the faction, I think there's really a lot of champions you could possibly use. I would say one of my favorite rares for the faction is a Veer. Um,
yeah, he's insane.
he's so good. He has the turn meter fill and the heal, which you just rarely get that on the same ability. And then the AoE decrease attack. If it's relevant, you can place decrease speed. And then he's got the A1 poison. So he's just got a really good kit and it works together fairly well. Definitely a solid rare there. Any other rares
Yeah.
we want to mention here as decent besides Avir and Master Butcher?
I mean, if you feel like it's too dark, a candle guard is gonna do a lot for you there.
She's gonna light the
She's
way.
she, she's always bringing candles to the fight.
You're
So
you're
if you feel like you're
absolutely
lacking some candles, we got you covered there too.
okay. That's
Uh,
totally true. That's totally true. I think Kurzad is a trap. This is the decreased speed guy. I tried really hard to put this guy in an Iron Twins team for a buddy of mine, and his base stats are just so miserable. He all he needed to do was take one hit. And we're trying to
yeah.
put like decent gear on him. It's just so difficult to make him work. I would say you should ignore all of the things you've heard about him and do not build him. A couple of the other rares are okay, like the other void rares,
Mhm.
but I would say for the most part with Faction Wars, you don't need to worry about rares because all the epics are so solid.
Yeah, and there's enough options now. You're almost certainly going to have one or two of them if you've been playing for any amount of time.
Right.
And there's a lot of options. Runekeeper Dazdurk is great. He's a great support. Fodbor as well is very interesting, I think. He's got the AoE defense down. They got a lot going on. Gala was a big part of my original team that beat it.
Me
She
too.
was really solid damage for me. She can really bang. I've had her ruin my day in arena unexpectedly sometimes. She'll just out of nowhere wipe me out. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. There's apparently
So
some guy who's been placing in plat and he uses Gala every time. So it's
nice.
he Gala's legit. Like she was OG good and she's still just hanging around there, still good, just not that many people use her, I don't think.
Yeah, not as popular. A lot of these champs are still just as good as ever, but
Right.
we're getting new champs so often they're getting buried. Like you
Yeah.
don't hear a lot of people talk about Bad L anymore. Bad L's
True.
insane.
Yeah,
He's
totally agree.
insanely good, and you never really hear him brought up anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of faction wars then, do you have like any like recommendations like what kind of abilities are we looking for when we're building our faction war team for dwarves? Obviously we want a reviver in there if
hmm
possible, so Melga or Molly, but what else do we want in the team?
Uh, if I'm remembering correctly, I think the attack down was very important. That's
Yeah,
one of the reasons rearguard was so good. She was bringing that attack down. She's also bringing the defense down on the A1. I mean, she's one of those champs that every turn she's taking is a very valuable turn. She's got ally
100%.
protection and heals, defense down, attack down. Everything she's doing is very important. So a lot of what she's bringing to the fight is what I think you want to kind of build around. You are going to need some damage. You have to
Absolutely.
get them out of there because you will get overwhelmed
Yeah.
eventually. So that's where someone like Gala comes into play because Gala, even in the higher ends of faction wars, can pick enemies off
Yeah, I think in
like
my
every
original
turn.
clear, she was the only damage dealer in my team. I just
Yep.
had four other supporting characters, and she was the damage dealer, so she can definitely carry you there. If I remembering correctly, this is the dwarves boss is the one that ignores your defense. So we
Yep.
want really high HP, and the turn meter manipulation on somebody like Geomancer is great, as well as healing or blocking debuffs. All of those things are really great for your team. And that's one of the reasons why we liked Rockbreaker too, because of his passive. If you get the boss to target him, then he's going to cut that damage in half. Then you heal him back up. He can do it again with a little bit of RNG on your side. You can
hmm
you can clear the faction like that.
And if I'm trying to remember how I built him, I know it was super high HP, and then
Yes.
it might have been lifesteal. Does that sound
That
familiar?
sounds right. Yeah. Yeah, some kind of healing gear set and high HP, but you want him to be the lowest HP out of your team so that the boss targets him.
That's
So,
right. Yeah, I'm getting
yeah.
mixed up here.
So I try
So maybe
to
regen or lifesteal or something like that.
correct. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
great. So I try to get like 45 or 50,000 HP on him and then everybody else more than that. And I just like that's like a good metric to go by if that 50K mark. Are there any of the legendaries that we should like stick away from or avoid?
Um,
Like obviously
avoid.
Trunda's good, but she can be hard to keep alive. Brogni
Yeah,
is
true.
ridiculous.
Yeah, Brogni. If you had Brogni, you're probably not struggling with it.
No.
Like
And
he's
Herndig can
ridiculous.
be your damage dealer. So can Goffred. He also has that passive to keep people alive. What
I think
about...
Mountain King can be pretty handy.
Yes, for sure. He can definitely be your damage dealer because he's not only survivable, but he brings the hits. I'm thinking Beauregard is the one that we need to shy away from. He does have pretty good base stats though, so if you like put him in a shield set, he would be okay. But like he's got like a random increased defense on his A1. I mean, he does have the AoE shield, so maybe I'm undervaluing him and he's not that bad.
Yeah.
He's just really well known for
And the
this
speed
increased
buff.
resistance. So,
Yeah, he's always been a very interesting one to me. I would like to pull him just to see like what kinds of things you can do with him. He's an interesting champ.
yeah. Let me donate a
But I'm not
couple
so
to
I
you.
agree. I'm not so sure about faction wars. Donate him to me?
Yeah, I could donate a couple. So, to wrap up here, what I like to do is talk about what your current faction war team is that you use, so we get more of a sense of progression, and then what some more endgame players use. I'll let you pick and choose since I know you have a lot of accounts, but I'll go ahead and pull mine up while you're thinking about what team you want to talk about since you have so many options there. But recently I went through and I made presets for all of my faction war teams just for situations like this. And luckily I saved a couple keys because I wasn't sure. Let's see here. So we want dwarves, which is down here. So here's my clear team right now for 20 and 21. Herndig is the main damage dealer. Molly for revives, not that we really need it. She's more in there for control. Brogni
Hmm.
because he's obviously overpowered. We got Brassclad because I built him and I like him. And then Mountain King. But before that, I had basically a team full of epics plus Herndig. So it's not that you need these champions, but we're talking more end game here, like what do people actually use, and that's the team I actually use.
Okay. Nice. I don't. I have limited. I was looking at your uh, index screen compared to mine. You've got a
Uh-huh.
lot more lit up
Oh,
on
okay.
my free to play here. I've got Torment and Mountain King as legendaries,
Okay.
and they're both on the team. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I've got Milga in the mix just because.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have Gala in the mix.
Okay.
And then I might run a Runekeeper Dazdirk with them because I do like
Okay, well
Dazdirk.
that would bring the increased attack, right? Yeah, and the
Yeah.
turn meter fill. I like that. I like that. And you got some really solid damage dealers there, so I bet that's a pretty fast clear time.
Yeah, Doors is one of my more decent ones. I wish it was
Nice.
open so that I could go in and see what
Right.
times we're looking at and everything, but
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
got you. It doesn't always work that way for us,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but you know, it's all good. So, any other cool things that you know about any of these champions? Any sleeper picks or anything like that? Anything else you want to share about dwarves before we wrap it up here?
I think the only other champ that I've always thought was kind of interesting is Perforator. Not necessarily for faction wars. I think he's got a very simple kit, but it's also very interesting. And I've always thought he would be a fun one to try to play around with in like an unkillable clan boss team as your
Okay.
damage dealer because he's got the A1 poison and then he's got the ignore defense. I don't know. I just thought it's very simple but fun.
Yeah,
He's a fun one to play around with, and I don't think people really look at rares much.
that's
But
true.
other than that, I think again they've got like 47 rares,
Yeah.
so there's bound to be something fun down there.
Yeah.
They're all interesting. I think it's again one of the more interesting factions we have in the game. One of the more diverse factions, maybe. There's a little bit of everything in here in an interesting way, not just like they've checked the boxes, but I don't know. Whoever's making dwarves seems to really be interested in making them interesting. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, man. Well, it's been great having you on the channel here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to, come over on the channel. Again, his links will be in the description below and in a pinned comment. So make sure that you check out his channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
appreciate it, man. Dude, those stingers. That's so good.